Good day, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in. If you guessed it, I'm making a bowl today. This one is my 10-inch, the biggest I can do, and it is a river bowl. The rivers are kind of a new thing for me, and so I don't have very many in stock. That's why I'm making a lot of them. But here I'm just using a gouge to kind of get that first layer of unevenness down. What it does is it helps it spin, and it's not quite as vibrating. Vibraty? I don't know if that's a word. One of my viewers did ask me to specify on gouges that I use, because there's several different types. There's bowl gouges, spindle gouges, stuff like that. To be honest, I don't know what gouge that is. I buy the same one every time I need a new one, and it's just what I use. I don't know the specific names of them. So for that, I apologize, but that's just kind of the way I am. Names of things and me don't get along. I'm really good with my hands, but not with my words. So here we're just working it all the way down to just the resin that I want to be there and the wood, and getting some shape going. Now I do have something coming up in this video. I'm going to let you know that you can jump ahead to the 8-minute mark, and I have a little bit of a blowout, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. For now, I'm just giving this thing a shape. I have been thinking about changing my style of video a little bit, and want to ask your advice on it. I kind of like seeing the whole process, but I've noticed in other people's videos that they kind of highlight certain things they're doing, and that's my question. Does my audience like to see the whole process, or should I make it more of a show? The slow-mo cut here, and jumping through, so it's not as, I don't know what word I want to use. Let me know. Tell me what you think. You like seeing the whole thing, or should I Hollywood it? Maybe that's the right term. I don't know. Hopefully you know what I mean. On these bigger bowls, the shaping takes a little while. I guess the whole thing takes a while. Really, this is about a 3 to 4 hour process. So right now we're probably sitting at, I don't know, half an hour worth of time of me standing there cutting away. When it starts getting fun for me is when this bottom here gets done. I get to flip it around and start cutting out the inside. That's when I'm happiest, making a bowl. So that's just a parting tool there. I just cut the little insert in, and then I use an angled scraper to cut the back lip in the insert and kind of flatten everything up. Just doing a little finish work on the bottom, and now we're ready for the brand. I used to hand sign all the bottom of my bowls, and ever since I got this brand, I think it's just so much cleaner. Yeah, that looks good. I see some of my old bowls that I did, and that hand signature is, doesn't look professional enough to me. Okay, on these bigger bowls, I don't cut the depth hole first. I always core out some of the weight of the bowl. There's not a whole lot of material holding it onto the lathe in the back, on the back bottom side. And so this makes it so it's a lot easier to work with. You don't have to be as careful. Taking away all that, half that weight that's spinning around, it's a lot safer. You don't want one of those things coming off. So that's why I do this. Stability, it's safer, all that fun stuff. And even when you're turning this, I'm watching the blue go away from the top of that bowl. And even when you're doing it in real life, that's kind of what it looks like. It's takes a little bit longer. It's a little slower, but it still has that same effect. I always kind of zone out on this part here. We're just watching the layers fade down. So we're almost to that 8-minute mark, and what I want to say is I got another comment of somebody worrying about me having sleeves and gloves on, and I'm going to show you why I wear gloves. As you can see right now, I'm not wearing them, but I do have sleeves on, and mainly sleeves are just because it's cold. But the gloves serve a purpose, and I know a lot of people say they're dangerous or whatever. I've been turning for years, and it's a lot safer to have them on than off. And here I'm going to show you why. I got a couple little cuts to make, and then we'll get there. And oh, right there. Okay, I'm going to slow it down for you. All this material hits my hand. See that piece right there? Jeez. All of that hit my hand. And luckily I had that sleeve sitting there, else it would have really hurt. Once it stops spinning, there we go. See that? All of those pieces are like razor's edges. So I made this video after that comment and that happened, and I wanted to highlight it for somebody that makes one bowl every week as a hobby. That's probably not something you need to worry about, but I can turn 2 or 3 bowls a day, and by the end of it, the outside edge of my hand is just raw. I actually did that to myself the other day, and it doesn't feel good. So for all those safety people out there, I wear gloves to be safe. I wear sleeves to be warm. You don't really have to worry about it unless they're super loose, and even then, don't reach over your machine while it's spinning, and you'll be fine. Okay, enough of my lecture. Now we are carving it down. There's easily half the amount of weight on that piece of wood now. This here is the most stressful and the most satisfying at the same time part of the bowl. When they're this big, they tend to vibrate a little bit, and here in a minute I'll show you what that sounds like. But with the resin running all the way through this, these are not the easiest to turn. The hardest part about turning resin in wood bowls is the changeover between the wood and the resin. That makes it hard. If you can turn a wooden bowl, you can turn the resin bowl. There's just a little bit of difference. Alright, so I left it slow here so you could hear it. Hopefully I remember to turn up the volume. But you can kind of hear the change in pitch, and that's the struggle of turning a bowl hollow. Once it gets really hollow, the whole thing can vibrate as it's turning, and that causes a lot of issues. I don't know. I hope what I'm saying to y'all makes sense. I get lost sometimes in my words. Bear with me. I could just play music. Now that I've made a few of these videos, I am definitely getting more comfortable with doing these voiceovers and just talking in general. I'm really a pretty quiet person. Don't really like being in front of a camera, so excuse me. This whole thing I'm doing on YouTube is kind of weird. It takes me out of my comfort zone. But that is part of life. You gotta do new things and try new stuff and live. Excuse me. Alright, we're to the famous sanding. So when I sand a bowl down all the way, I go from 80 grit to 3000 grit. Here I'm just soaking the whole thing and getting it wet. When you sand wood, a lot of people will water pop, and that's basically getting the wood wet and then letting it dry, and the grain will pop up is what happens, and so you can get it smoother. And that kind of happens when I do this, but I don't wait for it to dry. I just go ahead and sand, and that's mainly for the resin. The wood, you only need to sand wood down so far and it'll be fine, but the resin needs 3000 grit for sure. And so I just go, this lathe has both directions, and so I sand each grit both directions all the way to 3000. And that's my secret to making a perfect finish. I've seen a lot of other turners that will sand down a certain part or to a certain point, and then they start putting finishes on, and I don't like that. I like the bowls to look as natural as possible. And even here, this is Yorkshire grit. This is what I use. This is sped up 5, so basically in half. And just applying this first coating on there you can see the difference in the way the wood looks, how shiny it is. I like the fact that it's natural. So I basically start out slow, make sure I got an even coat of material on the piece, and then speed it up to get some heat. And the heat, I feel like, kind of solidifies everything. This is the second coat I'm doing now. All right, and that's it. My voice is a little cracked today. I I keep having to clear it. I apologize. Um, but I'm gonna leave it at that because we're basically here. Oh, sorry, I polished the bowls up just to give it a different. I don't know. It's polishing. I can't think or talk today. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I super appreciate you. Um, until the next one, have a nice day.